Thank you, and welcome to the October 22nd meeting of the Radnor Township Environmental Advisory Council. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We start our agenda with the review and approval of minutes of our prior meeting, which have been distributed to the EAC members by email. Opportunity for everyone to review them in advance. Does anyone have any corrections or changes to the minutes?
I would just like to thank Ann for taking them. It's a pretty big project.
Ann volunteered to take minutes as of the last meeting, and she has done an excellent job, and we really appreciate it.
I move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Minutes are approved. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is announcements, and I just wanted to make an announcement that our next EAC meeting will be held on Tuesday, November 24th. We typically have our meetings on the fourth Thursday of the month, but because next month the fourth Thursday will be Thanksgiving, we're going to hold it on Tuesday instead. For those of you that may be joining us next month, remember, it'll be on Tuesday night, but same time, 6 o'clock here at the Township building. Also, and I did want to just kind of get a sense from the EAC members. I know it's right near Thanksgiving, but there are some things that we want to take care of in November. Is there anybody that knows already they're not going to be able to be available? Okay, at least one.
I'm sorry, what's the date again?
The November 24th.
Oh, I'm out of town.
You're out of town, so that's two.
I don't have it.
You don't have to
2
commit
days
for
before?
sure. I just want
Okay.
to get a sense.
Okay.
It's questionable.
Maybe
for you.
I may be able to make it, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll send an email to follow up. Great. Okay, now the next item on our agenda is presentation by the Girl Scout troop, but...
We're doing some other announcements also?
Oh, we do, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Robin, I cut you off.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Well, first I wanted to, this is a reminder of the 25th anniversary luncheon for the Darby Creek Valley Association. It's an all-volunteer watershed association that is primary stewards of the Darby Creek watershed, which is 31 municipalities, including Radnor. The creek flows down from up in Berwyn, where it starts down to the Tinicum Marsh and the John Hines National Wildlife Refuge and into the Delaware River. And we will be gathering at McCall's Golf and Country Club at 12:30 on November 15th for a celebration and some awards, and we'll be hearing from Bob Edgar. He's the speaker. He's now the executive director of Common Cause, but at one point he was he was elected as the 7th District Member of Congress here in covering the watershed territory, and he's been a real pro-environment spokesperson. So we're lucky to have him joining us. The other thing I wanted to announce is I don't know whether this can be seen, but anyway, next week on October 29th at the Bryn Mawr Film Institute will be a showing of Coal Country, which is a film profiling coal mining in Appalachia, and it's apparently just a great film and really shares the experience of coal miners and of those experiencing mountaintop removal. Apparently there's great music. Kathy Mattea, who's a country singer of some fame, she's in the movie, and some of her music and that of some of her fellow song artists. So anyway, 7:30 at the Bryn Mawr Film Institute, and best of all, it's free. This is a Sierra Club sponsored event, and I hope lots of people will turn out and enjoy it and be educated by it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have announcements to make?
We were just trying to remember the name of the Willows Cottage Festival. Harvest Fest is
That's
this
right.
Sunday.
From 1 to 5 at
From
the
1 to
Willows
5,
Cottage.
balloon rides, hay rides.
Lots of fun.
Pie
bobbing for
baking
apples.
contest, I
Looks
think.
pretty fun.
Yeah. I bought my tickets already. Anything else? No? Okay. as I was saying before, we have a presentation by by a Girl Scout troop tonight. We're delighted to have them here, but I do need to switch something around on the agenda. We have a climate change work group report out that's due to be after the presentation, but we needed to shift things around due to some schedules. So if you will just indulge us, we just have a short report that we need to make, and then we'll move on to the presentation that we're all looking forward to. So Josh, can you give us a status report on the work of the climate change work group?
Gladly. We're wrapping up the report. It's in its near final form. It has been distributed to the members for their final edits this week, and we anticipate signing it or approving it at next month's meeting,
right.
24th of November. So in terms of its status, it looks good. I don't have much else to say. We've gone over it a couple times, and there's no need to go into it in detail.
And you've asked for comments, final comments from the EAC by the end of this month, right?
Correct, by the 30th of this month, if I could have everybody's final comments, I can have them incorporated.
Okay.
Have the report redistributed at least 2 weeks before that final meeting on the 24th, or that November meeting on the 24th, and then that way we can all feel comfortable approving it on that meeting.
Okay, very good. And Robin, I think you had an additional report from that work group about the ICLEI membership.
Yes, just to make sure everybody's aware, the software that Josh was using to do the inventory of greenhouse gas emissions by Radnor municipal facilities is provided by the ICLEI, which is the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. And they provide this support to communities all across the country doing emissions inventories and then developing a climate action plan. And it actually, to be a member of ICLEI means you're committing to the mayor's climate protection agreement, which is calling on communities to adopt a goal of reducing their emissions by a certain amount. So ICLEI provides support for developing a climate action plan, which is to take steps to reduce emissions. And the software that they provide allows for communities to look at where the best bang for the buck is, where there are opportunities for savings, and ideally the community can make some good investments that actually reap significant savings and generate some additional funds with which to go farther. So the membership has expired with ICLEI. We signed up 2 years ago, and so now I think the issue is before the commissioners as to whether or not to renew that membership. And I think it would be a good idea for the EAC, to signal our support for that idea to the commissioners. We've been working with the software, and also they have a staff that provides some technical support as needed. And so it would be my suggestion that the EAC would want to communicate that to the commissioners, that we think that.
Okay, maybe it makes sense for each of us to reach out to our individual commissioners, touch base with them, and make sure that they know how important it is for us to renew this membership that isn't that expensive, but it's going to be really important to the next stage of work in terms of developing the action plan.
Sure. Yes, it's a modest fee. It's $600, and it seems money well spent. So that's fine if you'd like to do it that way. Then I just hope we have the bases covered.
Well, we can send a general notice, but I'm just thinking that if we also reach out individually, that it might, get some attention.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you, Brenda.
Right. Great, thank you. Okay, now for our feature presentation. We are delighted to have with us today Girl Scout Troop 5198 that meets at the Agnes Irwin School. Our EAC member, Heather Riley, who unfortunately is not able to be here with us tonight, she has some sick children at home. She invited the Girl Scouts to come and make a presentation to us called Operation Plastic Bag, and to inform us about, I guess, the hazards of plastic bags. So thank you very much for coming, and I invite you to come on up, and I think your slideshow is all loaded. So.
Hello, my name is Emily Acton, and this is the Radnor Girl Scout Troop 5198. We meet at the Agnes Irwin School in Rosemont. We are here to present some scary information regarding plastic bag usage. Please enjoy our presentation. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, somewhere between 500 billion and 1 trillion plastic bags are used worldwide each year. Less than 1% of plastic bags are recycled. It costs more to recycle a bag than it does to produce a new one. It costs approximately $4,000 to recycle 1 ton of plastic bags. The recycled material can then be resold for no more than $32. So where do the plastic bags go? A study in 1975 showed that ocean-going trash haulers dumped 8 million pounds of plastic annually into ocean fills. Bags get blown around to different parts of the land, to our seas, lakes, and rivers. Bags find their ways to the sea via drains and sewage pipes. Plastic bags have been found floating north of the Arctic Circle and as far south as the Falkland Islands. Plastic bags account for more than 10% of the debris washed up on the U.S. coast.
Somebody must have a cell phone on. If you do, can you turn it off? Okay, thanks.
Plastic bags photodegrade, meaning over time they break down into smaller, more toxic petropolymers. The toxins contaminate soils and waterways. Microscopic particles can enter the food chain.
The effect on wildlife can be catastrophic. Birds become fatally entangled.
Nearly 200 different species of sea life die due to plastic bags. Some of these are whales, dolphins, seals, and turtles. These animals die after ingesting plastic bags that were mistaken for food. What can we do? Well, if one person switched to reusable bags, the Earth would be saved from 6 plastic bags a week. That is 24 bags a month, and 288 bags per year, and 22,176 bags in an average lifetime. If 1 out of 5 people switched to reusable bags, we would save the Earth from 1,330,560,000,000 bags over a lifetime. Bangladesh has banned plastic bags. China has banned free plastic bags. Ireland taxes plastic bags and has reduced usage by 90%. Rwanda banned plastic bags in 2005. Several other countries have banned or are moving toward banning plastic bags. On March 27, 2007, San Francisco became the first U.S. city to ban plastic bags. Other major cities across the United States are considering a ban. The picture on the left is of a recently capped landfill site. The picture on the right is of a landfill capped 20 years ago. You can see that the plant life is minimal. Developing the land is difficult. It takes 500 years for plastic bags to decay. The landfill will continue to emit methane gas into our atmosphere. Plastic bags are made from polyethylene, a thermoplastic made from oil. The amount of petroleum made to use a plastic bag would drive a car about 12 yards. So the U.S. could significantly reduce the need for foreign oils by millions of barrels by using reusable bags.
Can we do this?
Radnor residents, please do your part to save our beautiful earth. Please consider reusable bags in Wayne. Use reusable bags. Say no to plastic use. Educate your family and friends of the benefits of reusable bags. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. Without
That was very informative. Did we do some research on that, or is that where did we learn all those facts?
Well, for our bronze award project that we did last school year, we did a project on this, and when we went to Camp 3, we presented it to the other Girl Scouts, and we let them make their own plastic bags. Reusable bags. And I think they're considering to go over to reusable bags, but we did do a lot of research on it, and I think all of us learned a lot from it, and now most of us.
Yeah.
Well, you did a very nice job.
Really
We really
good.
appreciate it. It shows a lot of work. Thank you.
Definitely.
Congratulations on
Yeah.
your hard work and your excellent presentation
Yeah.
and poise.
How are you going to get your message out to other people in the town?
Well, we would like all of you to tell your family and friends about the use of plastic bags and the harmful effects on our world. Also, we would like Radnor Township to think about what could we do. We would like you to fund for a reusable bag that will be used all throughout Radnor and Wayne. And by buying thousands of bags, the cost will go down dramatically. And all companies who help fund for these bags will have their name on the back of the bag. And hopefully we will help save the earth.
So are you planning to put together a program that folks can come to you to order these bags and you would then provide for them? Or you're sort of suggesting it as an idea that somebody should pick up the ball and kind of go with that? Okay.
I think what they're thinking is that possibly the merchants in Radnor could get together as a whole, put their money together, purchase the bags, have one front on it saying Radnor Township is conserving, and on the back advertise their business, and then all the merchants have the same bag and use that instead of plastic.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Have you had an opportunity to reach out to the Wayne Business Association yet?
Yes, they did. They did, last year, they presented the same presentation to the Wayne Business Association at the Susquehanna Bank at their meeting, and it was well received.
Okay.
They didn't change any minds quite yet, because it's still less expensive to buy a plastic bag, but somebody really needs to take the forefront, do the research, and then have more get the reusable bag. Brenda, I just wanted to suggest that maybe the EAC might send a letter to the Wayne Businessmen's Association or Wayne Business Association, just indicating that we've had the presentation and we think it would be a great idea. Is it something they're pursuing? Because, it would help if we could lend some support to the effort.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good idea.
The town of Rutland, Vermont has a program. For $2 you can buy a canvas bag with the town insignia on it. And It's sort of a natural. I would think maybe Wayne would want to have their own logo on a bag.
Might be helpful if we could get some information on that program to the extent that another town has already done it. Sometimes it's easier to get folks on board if they, sort of have detailed information about how it's worked for another town.
I want to make one other point, and that is just that so much of this ties into our efforts to reduce our emissions in Radnor, and I don't know if we'd be able to quantify the contribution in our waste stream, because a lot of people don't recycle their plastic bags, even if they, are cutting down. But it would certainly contribute to the reduction in the waste stream, which is one of the goals that we have, and reducing our emissions as a result.
I have a question, something that I've actually been thinking about, and since we have all of these experts here, maybe now is the time to ask my question, is that we try to bring reusable bags to the store so that we don't need to take the plastic bags to the store. How does it play out in terms of the bags that we put in our trash can that are like full of our trash? I mean, have folks thought about that and whether there are options for that? I assume one plastic bag, another plastic bag, you're talking about all kinds of plastic bags, or whether there's been some differentiation between the kind that you get at the grocery store versus the hefty bags that you buy for putting your trash in.
Well, the type of reusable bag that we're suggesting is more just for carrying your groceries home, or really any other thing that you could buy and carry around. It's not for garbage or plastic items.
Oh, do you still have the handheld microphone with you, Stephanie? Oh, okay. Jim was just saying that the home audience can't hear the girls at this point. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it does help, even though it's only a small amount of plastic that we're reducing. It does help a lot in the long run, because not only are we reducing our own town's use of plastic bags, we're also setting an example for other townships that maybe they might want to follow. So.
Okay, very good.
I just want to comment, in terms of the garbage bags, there are now a number of varieties of biodegradable plastic bags for garbage. So I think that there is an opportunity there that's kind of separate.
Okay, I find that people aren't talking about that, so we may want to think about getting the word out about that, Robin, and maybe the Girl Scouts too, because if there are other alternatives for some of the other plastics, that should definitely be part of the conversation as well. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, well, thank you again. We really appreciate the presentation. Okay. So we will move to our next item on the agenda, which is our continuation of our work group reports. And the next work group report that we have is for our sustainability group. And on that topic, I just wanted to start with a brief recap of what we've been doing with the sustainability series. At the beginning of this month, we had another program in that series. The topic was greening your own home and what you can do as a resident. And we had 4 speakers talking about green remodeling, talking about smart metering and some of the programs that PICO has available under Act 129, energy auditing, and funding opportunities. Josh spoke about funding opportunities. So we are looking forward to our next program in the series, which we are hoping is going to be targeted toward understanding emissions and carbon footprint, and we'll have our emissions inventory all ready to go and be able to provide some detail on that at that next series program. So the next topic under sustainability is the EPA Water Sense program. A couple of months ago, this program had come to my attention. I had seen nearby Township had entered into a partnership with EPA. EPA was looking for partners to promote this program and thought it might be worthwhile investigating it to see if it would present any opportunities in Radnor. Might be some nice synergies with our focus on sustainability this year. And Sloan was so gracious enough to volunteer to look into it and report back to us. And we got a nice report on it last month's meeting, and since then he has put together a document to really lay out what the benefits are and what the program requirements are. So, Sloan, if you want to tell us a little bit more about where we are with that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I passed out the draft report or recommendation. There are a couple copies on the credenza. This is, we're still collecting comments and recommendations from members of the EAC and other interested parties. The idea is that we're going to make a recommendation to the township that Radnor become what's known as a promotional partner with the EPA in this WaterSense program. It's an educational program that the EPA runs to educate folks on options they have to be very efficient in using water. Different types of household products like faucets, toilets, and other things that are much more efficient than other products. There are also other benefits. The EPA holds webinars which allow other townships and other participants who have had interesting programs, educational programs, to talk about their experiences, what works well, what gets people interested and active on the issue. So those are a few of the benefits that come with being a partner. And I've got a few other comments from the members of the EAC, which I'll incorporate into the memo. But you know, I encourage any other comments to come forward in the next week or so. But in the meantime, I think we would like to make a recommendation to the township that the township become a promotional partner with the support of the EAC. The EAC, I think we could have a role in doing the application, which is not too onerous, but in addition to really promoting the educational kind of programs that I think would be benefited by being a partner. And also we could help in doing an annual update to the EPA, which is really just telling the EPA, here are the programs we've done this year, here are the efforts we've made. There's no obligation to do any, but obviously if we've done some, the EPA wants to know. So I think those are some of the highlights. Brenda, do you want to add any other?
Well, so in short, I've reviewed your memo, and I guess the main points are that if the township becomes a promotional partner, then we are showing our support for water efficiency, and I think issues surrounding water and water resources, the availability of water is becoming more and more important, and people need to be sensitive to it because we find that in lots of ways we're wasting water when we don't need to be. Maybe we don't need as much water when we flush the toilet or coming out of our faucet to brush our teeth or things like that. And so the idea would be that we partner with them to provide educational materials about how you can choose more efficient fixtures and plumbing and just get the word out there. So it's not as though it's a big burden, and it's actually very synergistic with the things that we're doing anyway in terms of providing community education. And the requirements that they have are simply to provide any updates to the EPA on promotional activities that you've taken, which we can certainly take care of for the township if they'd like us to do that. So,
and I think we could also link our website to theirs, and so it makes it very easy for folks to get a real rich resource of information about options they've got on household items and other educational material. So it might be a nice fit with our website.
So I guess what I was thinking is I'd like to see if maybe we can have a motion tonight to approve making a recommendation to the township to become a promotional partner. I know that Sloan has not quite put the finishing touches on this memo outlining the recommendation, but I think it's just some wordsmithing that he needs to do, but all of the core points are there. And so I wanted to see if we have any discussion on that and if we are comfortable getting on board with making that kind of a recommendation.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, or maybe one big one. Under the benefits section, Sloan, you indicate that one of them is a variety of educational resources, including brochures, fact sheets, and so forth, are provided by EPA to the township. How, in this partnership, do you envision, or in the experience of Marple Township, one of the which is a partner currently, how does that information get into the hands of citizens in Radnor Township? Because they are really the end users of that information without incurring, as you indicate, any direct costs to the partners.
Well, it's a very good question, and one I actually posed to the EPA person who I spoke with, and I asked, could we get an EPA person out here to help with a presentation on this topic, and she indicated that we could make an invitation and we might be able to get somebody out. So we could certainly attempt to have the EPA, a representative, come out and maybe do some education. In addition, we can get the materials out on the website. They indicated they'd be happy to work with us to customize some of that, and some of that we could post to the website. They don't consider themselves the owners of the material. We could work with them, and they could help us customize it. If there was funding or dollars available for mailings, we could mail things out. And I think Heather and Brenda were talking about other interesting approaches, perhaps working with the schools.
Heather had volunteered to take up an effort with the schools to get the word out through the kids and the parents about the program and all of the water efficiencies that folks can be thinking about. So in addition to directly reaching out to Radnor community members through the Radnor website, which is, a primary way that Radnor gets information out, and doesn't cost anything because we're not printing and mailing, Heather would be willing to make efforts to work with the school district directly. And then we were going to also talk with the township staff about other points at which they think people might be interested in this type of information, such as if they're coming in to get permits and things like that for new construction or renovation. So we've just been talking about different ideas for getting the word out, and I think those would serve as a primary basis for doing that. But that we wouldn't be restricted to those ideas.
Right.
We just, I think getting it out in schools, getting it on the website, providing a presentation at an EAC meeting would be the very easy things we could do right away, and then we can brainstorm about some other information. Maybe even on the health TV show if you were interested in helping out with that. Are there other questions or comments, thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say, this is the counterpart to the Energy Start program, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I gather it's been tremendously successful. And so, this kind of way of giving a seal of approval for efficient products, it's a very simple thing to communicate to people, is look for that label. And so I'm delighted, and I think it's great. I'm terrifically glad you're doing it.
Great.
So,
Great.
I'd like to make just one quick comment before, and I also would like to approve this. I think it's a great thing. It might be interesting to see if we could partner with local suppliers, for instance, Do It Best Hardware, or some fixture suppliers to see if we can encourage an advertising campaign or a coupon campaign for shower heads or toilets or, something like where we could help them somehow.
I think that's a very good idea. And Sloan, did you have some information about something that Marple had done along those lines?
Yes. I spoke with John Butler, who's a commissioner of Marple Township, and he talked about a similar program that he had gotten going, in part because of their partnership in the WaterSense program, where he and the township worked with, I think it was Home Depot, and got Home Depot to donate about 100 very water-efficient faucets to the township for distribution to residents. And he was working out the mechanics on how they were going to be distributed. But I think it's a good example of working with the local businesses to help this the program out. There may be other things that can be done, especially if the stores start to use the WaterSense logo. Maybe they'd want to come in and talk about what that means and what types of products they have available. So I think there are a lot of interesting ways to work with businesses on this.
So signing on, I think, would just be the beginning, and then the work group would have to really sit down and brainstorm ideas like that one to pursue. But I think it's a great opportunity. Okay.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah.
I was going to
Go
make a
ahead.
motion that we make the recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to partner, to become a promotional partner in the EPA's WaterSense program.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you very much for your work, Sloan.
Okay.
Nice job.
I will finalize this and circulate it
Okay.
after this meeting.
Very good. Great. One other item that I wanted to mention under our topic of sustainability is that there is a Classic Towns workshop coming up that's hosted by the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. They have this Classic Towns initiative where they are trying to promote classic towns like Wayne, in retaining that classic charm. And they are holding a workshop Tuesday, December 8th from 12 to 3:30 in Westchester. And they're going to be focusing on energy conservation and what tools communities can use to encourage environmental sustainability, which I thought sounded like it was right up our alley. And we did circulate this among the EAC members to see if anybody was interested and available in attending. And I know we get lots and lots of emails, so I thought it was worth bringing up at the meeting. And I know it is during the day on a Tuesday from 12 to 3:30, but I think it might be worthwhile if one of us can attend. So if everybody can check their calendars, perhaps, and maybe just send me an email if you think that you would be able to go and attend on behalf of the EAC. Great. Thank you very much. Our third work group is Community Environmental Education and Awareness, which Heather Riley heads up. And fortunately, she's not here tonight, but I just want to report that she is making great progress with the Green Radnor website, sort of pulling together all of the information on the things that Radnor has done and is doing to promote sustainability in our community and encourage the use of renewable energy, things like that. We're expecting that should be wrapped up very soon. We'll have the rollout within a month, and you'll be able to go to one spot on the website, find a collection of all of the environmental and sustainability related information. So that's coming soon, and keep your eye out for that. And thank you to Anne, who has been lending a hand on that and doing a great job in getting that moving along. So that's it on our work group reports. I want to turn now to the liaison reports. We are fortunate to have liaisons from Planning Commission, Julia, and from Board of Health, Herb. And so, Herb, I know that you did circulate something to us that I thought might be worthwhile in mentioning. It was a public health grand rounds program on climate change. All right. Well, can I reiterate it on your behalf? Okay. It's a webcast on Thursday, November 5th from 2 to 4, and it's entitled Global Climate Change Implications for Public Health. It's free, but you need to register. So if anybody is interested in listening to that, listening to the public health angle on the climate change discussion, you can log on to Public Health Grand Rounds, all one word, publichealthgrandrounds.unc.edu. And I appreciate your passing that on. And if you have other things to report in terms of Board of Health activities?
I do, thank you. First thing is that with the approval of the Township Commissioners, the Board of Health did submit an application for funds to the Rite Aid Foundation for funds to distribute, well, actually to print and distribute to every household in Radnor Township a copy of a residence awareness and emergency preparedness guide. Unfortunately, copies of this have become pretty scarce, so I only have one and pass it up, but I need it back, please. It's a very useful and important document that we, as I said, hope to be able, with the funds from the Rite Aid Foundation, distribute to every household in the township, and it contains information as to what you need to do to prepare your household for an emergency, whether it's an environmental disaster, a biological, biomedical emergency, or terrorist attack. And we certainly hope no one ever really needs to use that, but it's a useful document that tells people what they should have in their emergency kits at home. It provides information with regard to evacuation routes and a lot of other stuff. Rite Aid Foundation's current review cycle began on October 1st. We did get the application in time for that, and we know it was received because somebody signed off on the return receipt. So we're waiting to hear from the foundation.
So you're waiting to hear from the foundation to make more of these, or this has already been mailed out?
No, we're waiting to hear from the foundation to be able to print those and mail them, prepare them for mailing, and then get them actually in the mail to every household.
Great.
So I'm optimistic that we will get that grant because it falls within the parameters of the types of things that the foundation considers worthwhile funding.
Herb, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this available in a form that it could be posted on the website?
Well, it's fairly large. There are parts of it that could be posted on a website, certainly, but with regard to the whole thing, you can see it folds out. There's a map showing the evacuation routes. I think that sort of thing, while it might be important to have it on a website, it's also important for people to have it when they need it. And when they need it might be at a time when electricity, for example, might not be available. So I think there are lots of ways to get the information out. But in the end, you want to have something like that handy so that you can consult it when you need it, when and if you need it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, that you can have it even if the electricity is out. But to the extent that some of the information can be placed on the website, I think that's a great idea to go ahead and maybe talk to Melissa about what she can put up on there.
Sure.
Great.
Are there any other questions about that? Okay, for the last 3 years, the Board of Health has worked with the Radnor Township School District to promote an in-school flu vaccination program using flu mist, which is a nasal spray that's, it's not an injection, it's a nasal spray that uses a live attenuated virus. And we've just finished doing that program in the Radnor Township schools. All of the schools at each level participated, and about 175 kids in all the schools received the flu mist. And that's not a large number. And part of that is due undoubtedly to the fact that kids are getting their immunizations from their own primary care providers in our township.
Actually, I think part of it is because the information didn't get out. I know that I was trying very hard to find a flu mist or a flu shot for my kids, and despite getting many, many, many emails from the PTA, they never included that in all of these notices that are sent around. So I found out about it like the day after it was given. So I think part of it may be making sure that the PTO or PTA gets the information out. You might have had more kids if they had done that.
That's puzzling because I also have a child in the Radnor Township schools, and I did get information in advance.
Yeah, can I just throw in that I have a child at the elementary school level and the middle school level, and this is the first I'm hearing about this.
Okay. The high school level, they apparently did a better job of getting the information out.
Mine is elementary school. Mine's elementary school.
I thank you for that feedback. We'll have to talk with the school district folks who are actually obviously in charge of that aspect of it.
Right. I definitely would have taken advantage of it. Yeah.
It is. You mentioned the TV program, the Radnor Health Matters. We're doing a taping on October 29th, and obviously this is the first program of the current season, and it will be on flu, both the seasonal flu and the novel H1N1 or swine flu, as it's affectionately known. So that program will be taped, as I said, on October 29th. I don't know if we have any air dates yet, but as soon as that's available, I'll make sure that through email that everyone here knows about that.
Herb, do you have a sense as to what the statistics are right now for regular flu and H1N1 in the township or in the schools here in Radnor?
I don't have that information with me, unfortunately. I do have that information, but I didn't bring that with me. We know, for example, that one of the non-public high school in our township, Archbishop Carroll, did close for a couple of days because they indicated that they had 10 confirmed cases. Now, we also know that that isn't the policy of our Radnor Township School District to close for that sort of thing. The other problem we have is that with regard to immunizations is that unlike Philadelphia, for example, there is no required vaccine registry in this area, and in fact throughout most of the state. So we do not in fact know how many kids are already immunized against seasonal flu. Obviously no one is immunized yet against novel H1N1. So the vaccine is supposed to be in the pipeline. My understanding is that there are been some delays in getting it to providers at this point. And getting back to the TV program, I will follow up on your suggestion with regard to a future taping.
Great.
For that.
For the water sense.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, great. And Julia, our Planning Commission representative, do you have anything to report?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm hoping
That's
to have more on the wireless communication ordinances that are being presented to the Planning Commission, but we're waiting now for the next iteration to come through. And the effects that will have that I think we're going to be concerned about is some of the aesthetic and visual implications of cell phone towers and different designs for cell phone towers and when they can be shared. But we're waiting at the Planning Commission for the next level of that to come through, and then we'd like to share that with you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is old business, and under that topic, I just wanted to report that the Delaware Riverkeeper had given a presentation to the Board of Commissioners on October 12th regarding the West Wayne Preserve, which is the new name for the old Levin Tract. And what they're trying to do there is some wetland restoration and stormwater management project there. And they had gotten authorization from the Board of Commissioners to move to the next step, which was getting additional public outreach and then identifying some potential public funding for that project. They had asked us if we could attend. I'm not sure that anybody made it, but I know I watched it on TV. I think several members also watched it on TV. There's going to be another presentation at the Parks and Rec Board on Thursday, November 12th at 7:30. So my thought is if anybody has questions or has comments, it might be good to attend in person. Quite frankly, there wasn't really anything there to me that seemed controversial or that I had questions about. I think the questions will more likely come at the point in which we're looking at a project and how much it costs. I mean, if we get funding to cover all of it, then it's a simple equation. But if we don't get funding to cover the whole thing, then I think there may be other questions that we can bring to the table about what they're doing. I don't know, does anybody have any discussion on that? Did folks get a chance to watch that? No? Okay.
Yeah, I did watch it. I did think it was interesting. One of the commissioners recommended that, I think it was a recommendation to Park and Rec, that they itemize or prioritize and signal how high a priority this might be. Not to just move forward, but in terms of figuring out how high up the list of priorities it should be for the township and for funding. So thought that was an interesting issue. And I don't know if there's any kind of prioritization that the EAC could
I don't
comment
know
on.
what projects they have in the hopper, honestly.
At the-
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
what Parks and Rec is also looking at.
Yeah,
I think what they had also mentioned too is whether they might be able to stage this so that if they get funding for a particular part of it, whether they could go ahead and take care of that first part and then maybe hold off on
Right.
subsequent parts until they did get funding for it.
right.
Yeah. But I think that's key right now in
Yeah,
tight budgets is to
Exactly.
really prioritize and,
Right.
yeah, I don't know, what other projects.
but I guess that's one of the issues they'll discuss at the
Right,
Park and Rec discussion.
okay. Does anybody else have anything under old business?
If I can return to a subject, I did have something in my folder here that, with regard to flu, that might be of interest to anyone watching at home. And that is a website whose address is www.flu.gov, or you can call 1-800-CDC-info, INFO. And with regard to your question, I'm sorry I don't have precise figures, but according to the CDC maps I've seen, H1N1 is in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is identified as one of the states in the nation where it is widespread. So it's border to border, in east, west, north, and south.
Aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, if there's no, oh,
Just a
Yeah, go
comment
ahead.
on the flu. I found out recently that primarily it's a disease that is hitting younger people, 24 years of age or younger, and that's fully half of the hospitalizations in the country are young people.
well, we got to get those immunizations, right? Okay, if that's it on old business, does anybody have any new business?
I just want to make a report from the other watershed that we live in, that I live in.
Good.
Roaring Creek.
We always like to hear about Roaring Creek.
Yeah, Roaring Creek Valley Water Conservation Association has installed signs on the roads that lead into the watershed up there. The watershed is about 80 square miles, and there are a few major roads that enter it. And we have signs up now saying, "You are entering Roaring Creek watershed." And we have a sign on our farm that says, "You are in the Roaring Creek watershed."
Very good. Okay, if that's it on new business, is there any? Oh.
Brandon, let me just make a quick comment about a grant that I had found, a newly released grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Economic Development, Community and Economic Development. It is a grant that it's intended to assist communities in improving the energy efficiency of its housing stock, its existing housing stock. So basically improving residential energy efficiency. And the means that it went about doing so was to encourage communities to collaborate with business and other work groups to achieve the end goal of providing better access to energy efficiency technologies to the homeowners. And it's a fairly complicated grant in that it involves a lot of partnerships and well-developed plans. And I've spent literally 10 minutes doing the research, so I by no means up to speed yet. But what I did see is that on the website it had about 7 different examples on how communities could apply for this grant, and under what kind of a organization would have the best chance of winning the grant. And it gave different examples of how you would partner with, say, a Home Depot, or how you would partner with a bank, a financing bank, or stuff like that. So what I'd like to do is offer to do a little bit more research on it, and maybe do a little bit of phone calls to see if anybody else is applying for this grant, communities in our area, because it does encourage the partnership with other local communities, and not to try to do it on your own.
Okay.
So, any thoughts on that?
Certainly worth investigating a little bit further and seeing
yeah.
whether it might provide some opportunities. And then you had also sent an email around earlier about, I don't know whether this is the same or a different grant opportunity. And I know we've talked on and off about efficient lighting in Radnor. And I had heard recently that Lower Marion had started installing new lights, and then they've stopped because they're getting a proposal from a new company that's got some lighting option for them that's going to have a really short payback. And I know things are very tight right now in terms of the budget, but my thought is that if we had any inkling that we might be going forward with lighting work, it might make sense at this time to reach out to them and get a proposal. It won't hurt. And then if that aligns with that other grant opportunity that you had mentioned by email from, I think, DEP or DECD, that if some of it's going to be paid for, it might be worth considering.
Yeah, that's the Alternative and Clean Energy grant from PA as well. And yeah, I agree that laying the foundation or the groundwork to a project like a relamping project, doing that now would enable us to act quicker in the event that a grant pops up. So at your suggestion, I'm going to call up that company of which you speak to find out what they can do for us in terms of a proposal.
Okay.
I guess.
Great.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for following up on that. Is there anything else? Any public participation? Okay. If not, then motion to adjourn? So moved. And a second? And we're
Seconded.
adjourned. Thank you.